My name is Lan Nguyen, and I teach third grade at Krista McAuliffe Academy in Wichita. Yay! And I attended KU 2 years for pre-pharmacy. I want to share with you my story as a child refugee to a child's refuge. I hope that my story can leave a little bit of an impact in how you see your children or your students in your classroom. I want to talk about a little bit about my journey. I was 5 years old. My dad was 27. My mom was 26, 6 months pregnant, and a younger brother who was 2 with my uncle and my cousin. And we started off our journey on that little woven basket boat. Back in 1980, it was illegal to flee the country. So my dad had to wait until it was really late at night. We packed rice, salt crystals, salted and fermented fish as our nutrition. We couldn't pack a whole lot because we didn't want to make it visible. We didn't want to make it obvious that we were trying to flee the country. He met up with his fisherman friend who owned a boat similar to the one on the right. We had 21 people on that boat. It was a small motor boat, and he used the stars to navigate as we were at sea for 2 weeks. Notice how low that boat is. So during the time, the waves were coming into our boat and people were scooping water out. And there was one moment where my dad told me as I was growing up, and he said there was one night when you were really cold, and you said, "Dad, I'm really cold." All he had was just ripped shorts and a semi-wet t-shirt. And he took it off and gave it to me as a blanket. And to me, that story and that image, even though I didn't remember it, but I knew what he did for me, and that helped define who I am today. Someone that I will always owe my life to because of his sacrifices and his willing to do whatever it takes for me and for my siblings to have a better life and a better opportunity. Kính chào các giáo viên, tôi tên là Lan Nguyen, dạy ở Wichita tại trường CMA. Hôm nay tôi rất là hãnh diện được có mặt ở tại KU campus nói chuyện với các bạn về lịch sử của tôi. Raise your hand if you understood what I said. What you just witnessed or experienced was what I experienced for my first year of coming to America in first grade at Lawrence Elementary in Wichita. My first day of school, I followed this boy. We followed everywhere we went, right? I walked in line. I was a studious student. Whatever they did, I did. I mimicked everything, right? My friend took out a red book. I took out a red book. So we were going somewhere, so I followed this boy in front of me, and guess where he went? I went right along with him because back then the doors were not labeled with pictures. It was an old building. It had boys and girls, but I couldn't read. It was my first day of school. So I walked right with him into the boys' restroom, and a nice, kind girl went in and got me out and directed me to the correct place. But the struggle was real. There were many other struggles throughout the year. I couldn't eat the food that were given to me. I cried to my parents all the time. How am I going to eat? I don't know what to do. I cried, and they said, just hang in there. And so when you heard this morning talking about perseverance, talking about never giving up, it was me. The challenges were real. The struggles were real. And growing up, I was my family's translator. I didn't know that was not normal. My parents pulled me out from school on days when they had to go to the doctor because they needed someone to translate. But I did the best I could. My dad, who didn't speak English very well, made us sit down at the table with a thick dictionary from English to Vietnamese dictionary, and he tried to help us do homework. And whatever he couldn't help, it was my job because I was the oldest. I had to help my siblings. Did we do it right? I'm not sure, but we got it done. So the moral, the ethics, everything was there. The formality of education, or the thought that education is important. We are here because we wanted you to have an education. Why did I become a teacher? I had a handful of teachers who changed my life. They were caring. They provided that warm environment for me. They gave me a room where I felt safe to make mistakes and know that it was okay. And I wanted to do that for my students. I wanted to be a part of a community that could change lives. What better way to give back to a country that took us in as their family and gave us dreams than to give back and be a teacher and make differences in the future of their kids? What better way than to do that? How noble is it? And also, my other why is that my teachers were not equipped with some skills that I've learned throughout my years as a teacher. Because back then in 1980, there weren't a lot of immigrants. So they didn't have the ELL strategies. So I want to create that environment for my students. I want to create some strategies or share with them some strategies that I know could be effective, that would increase their accountability, their academic needs. I wanted to do that. So with that said, I want to share some strategies with you today. We're going to be talking about vocabulary instruction, sentence frames, and cooperative learning. When I teach a story, I pull out some content words that are very important for my students to understand what they're reading. We look at the word, we have a simple definition, and we have a picture to go with the words. Later on in the week, as a class, we decide on what gesture can we use to help us make that connection between the word and the definition. And it's always going to be up on the wall. They can refer back to it if they need to throughout the week. Oh, now I know what Sharon's talking about. Cooperative learning. I breathe this every day. I'm going to share with you 2 strategies that I find very beneficial for you to use in the classroom. Talking chips. We have a group right here. Everybody gets a chip. The teacher poses a question. You allow think time. And then one person gets to share. Everybody else is listening because we're practicing listening skills too. When you're done sharing, you put the chip in. You're done talking because you're going to allow other friends at that group or in that group to share. Why do I use this? Because I'm going to have the kid who's a language learner who doesn't want to do it because they're shy. But in a small group, she's going to do it. Because you're reducing the risk factor. You're reducing the high anxiety level for that child. Sage and Scribe is also another strategy that I use a lot, where worksheets, there is nothing wrong with worksheets, right? But you've got to use it effectively. So one worksheet, 2 kids. One has a pencil and one has a paper. The Sager is the one that does the speaking, right? It tells the other person what to write. Now, if you're a scriber, you're not going to write until you agree. And if the answer is wrong, I tell my kids, tip, tip, tell. You give 2 tips, and if they don't get it, then you tell them the answer. And then the roles are reversed. Sentence frames. I use this when we have class meetings. My PE teachers use this as well. This helps scaffold, and it helps give them that little comfort and support that they can look on the screen and use this to fill in the blank. And for the high kids, they can expand it and add more details to it. So you're thinking, what are the benefits of all these strategies I just shared you? I promise you, it's going to increase oral and written communication skills. If you work in a school, you can use these strategies. It's cross-curricular. Our custodian uses the sentence frames with my students. It's going to build them confidence, and you're empowering them to be accountable for their learning. They're not going to be as shy. In the beginning, they're going to be shy and timid, right? But once you build that foundation and scaffolder for them, later on in the year, they're more willing to share in front of the class. And really, these strategies are best for all students, not just language learners. They're going to be beneficial for your high kids and even the kids who are struggling, whether it's a learning disability or whatever the difficulties they have. I was a child refugee. I still am an immigrant. You don't have to be a refugee to know that you are your child or your student's refuge. Thank you for your time.